Hello family, welcome back to the Ebony Odyssey. My name is Jermaine Long and I am a servant of the Most High God. I really appreciate you for coming along and as always, enjoy the journey. Today's message is titled, The Biggest Mistake Fools Make in Africa. And my support scripture for this is Proverbs chapter 5 verse 23, and it reads, He will die for a lack of discipline, infatuated by his great folly. And what am I thinking about? Obviously, you can make a lot of mistakes here, but the biggest mistake you'll make is overindulgence in things that you don't need. The overindulgence of things you don't need. And what am I saying? Have self-control, whether it be food, alcohol, and of course, women, right? What does this mean when it comes to being infatuated? Because before in Proverbs, chapter 5, it's talking about women. So I want you to understand, being infatuated, it is filled with or marked by a foolish or extravagant love or admiration. Don't come over here and fall in love with food. Now, I done fell in love with food and I'm trying to get away from it. But also don't come over here and fall in love with drink. Don't come over here and fall in love with the women, because Africa has abundance of all of that. They have an abundance of women, food, and drink. And when you keep mixing them together, you're obviously going to have a problem. What does discipline mean? Self-control. So it says he will die for a lack of self-control. You got to control yourself. Now, we come from a place, us Americans anyway, we come from a place where we have seen the best of the best. We've seen people who have changed their lips, their cheeks, both sides, the front and the back, their breasts. They have changed everything that God gave them naturally. They don't even look real anymore. Everything is exaggerated. And that had become a beauty standard for so many people, that look. Imagine coming to a place where you don't have to do all that augmentation and you have natural beauty. You could become infatuated with the natural beauty, but you shouldn't be infatuated. You should have some type of self-control. And that's for the young men coming here, and especially for any married men that's coming here. Have some self-control. If you come here and you're a married man and you have a family, have some dignity. I know it's many factors that play into why a person would go this way and why a person would go that way. And the same goes for women, but this more so is for men on this one. We get to a point where the tank might be empty. And my thoughts on the tank being empty is actually Proverbs chapter 27, verse 7. And it reads, The full soul loath a honeycomb, but to a hungry soul, every bitter thing is sweet. And sometimes in marriage, you don't have, that fullness that you should have. I was reading and, learning about fasting, right? And it's a thing where you can fast up to 7 days. 7 days of no food can actually be very good for your body. But after those 7 days, you gotta eat a little bit, right? You gotta take a little bit back in, to keep everything functioning the right way. In the Bible it says, come together often, except for when you are fasting and praying. So you put two and two together. If fasting, the maximum amount of time is 7 days, think about your sex life. We should get into a maximum amount of 7 days. Anything longer than 7 days should be unacceptable. It should be some way to figure out how to keep everything else at bay. Think about this right here. Read this scripture over again with me, and let's break it down piece by piece so that we have a good understanding. A full soul. Think about a full belly. When your belly is full, do you want any more food? No. That's why it says a full soul loathes a honeycomb. You won't want anything else if you're full. Every 7 days, you could get full off a little bit of sex, we could say. And if you're fasting, you could get full off a little bit of food. But guess what? To a hungry soul, if you went past that 7-day mark, the body is craving something. Whether it be sex, food, water, whatever, it's craving something. And if that soul is hungry, if it's starving, if it's famished, what does it say? Continue on in verse 7. It says, every bitter thing is sweet. That ain't even what you want, but because you are so starved and deprived and hungry, guess what? Every bitter thing is sweet. This is what leads us astray, right? Sometimes it's just been we fasted too long. We're into starvation mode. We're looking for any meal that would satisfy us. And at that point, it's beyond our self-control. We don't want to die for a lack of discipline or be infatuated and end up in our greatest folly ever. So I know I said this was for the men, but this right here applies to both. Don't starve each other out, whether it be food, whether it be sex, whether it be love, care, compassion. If you're together for a purpose. Figure out how to be that purpose for each other. Figure out how to be what each other needs to keep the world at bay. How hard is it to keep the world at bay when every bitter thing looks sweet? But family, again, I appreciate you for listening, and as always, enjoy the journey.